Hey friends, welcome back to the Johnson City Living Podcast, where we celebrate the people who make this the best place to live, work, and play. Today, I've got the joy of sitting down with someone who's not only a powerhouse in the legal world, but also a passionate part of our Johnson City community, Jennifer Keller. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I feel bad a little bit because Jeff, your husband and my dear friend, he's kind of razzing me a little bit about you haven't had Jennifer on the podcast, and she's pretty much Miss Johnson City. So I apologize in advance.
This is my first podcast interview ever.
Seriously?
It is. I'm really excited.
Man, that's pretty impressive. Thank you for allowing us to be your first podcast.
Absolutely.
All right, Johnson City Living. The first thing I ask everybody is, what do you love most about Johnson City?
I think it would have to be the people. I think a lot of people say the people.
A lot of people say the people.
A lot of people say the people.
That's our number one answer.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's people like you. It's just, we have so many friends here, so many acquaintances, so many business colleagues, and they're just all stellar people. And I love that the most.
Okay. What's number two? If we had to take off the number one answer, maybe we can go a little deeper.
I think it's just the physical surroundings. To get to do what I do in these physical surroundings, I mean, the mountains, the lakes, just the physical beauty all around us, every single season of the year would have to be up there pretty high too.
Yeah, it is just a beautiful place. And the mountains are so I don't know, I feel safe just because they're there for some reason.
Yes.
They keep away the tornadoes and sometimes not the hurricanes, but it's just a great spot. So how did you and Mr. Keller find yourselves in Johnson City?
Well, so we both from Knoxville, grew up in Knoxville, went to the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. And we went to high school together, actually, and that's when we started dating in high school. When Jeff graduated from college or was about to graduate, we were looking for a job for him. I still had a couple of years of college left. And he got a job offer in Johnson City, Tennessee. And remarkably enough, we had lived 2 hours away for our entire lives, and neither of us had ever been here. And we came up here over a weekend and fell in love with it. And so decided that this was where we were going to make our home. Also, another sort of interesting part of the story, by that time I had already decided that I wanted to work for Baker Donelson or its predecessor law firm. And it just so happened that there was an office here. And so we really felt like it was a God thing that we were being sort of given an opportunity in a place where there was an office.
That's super cool. Now, tell me about Baker Donelson, because I was under the impression that it maybe kind of got started here. It's not the case?
Not here, but so Baker Donelson is the product of a number of mergers over the years of some smaller law firms. One of those law firms was the Baker Worthington law firm that had its roots in Tennessee.
Okay.
East Tennessee in particular. Howard Baker was one of its founding partners.
Gotcha.
And so that firm merged with some other firms over time. And now we are a firm of 700 lawyers, over 26 offices, in a footprint from New Jersey to Fort Lauderdale to Dallas and Houston. And so grown immensely since that time, but very definitely the two firms that originally merged were both Tennessee firms.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, as president and COO, what are you over? What in the world do I do? What do you do on a daily basis besides travel a lot? Because Jeff frequently just calls me crying. I miss Jennifer. She's on a plane somewhere, and I'm eating hot dogs again.
Yeah. So we supply legal services to our clients through practice groups. Each of our lawyers is in a practice group that relates to the kind of law that he or she practices. And so my main job is to manage the practice groups and departments of the firm. So in other words, sort of manage making sure that our legal services can be provided to our clients in the way they want it, in the areas they want it, by the people that they want to be able to provide those services to them. I also manage our IT functionality, our marketing and business development functionality, some historically of our professional development functionality. So yes, I travel a lot. A big part of my job is to make sure that I'm with the attorneys who are producing those legal services for our clients, to hear what our clients need, to hear what the attorneys need, to hear what our staff needs. Right now, a big part of what I'm doing, the CEO and I are traveling to all 26 of those offices in about a 7-week period of time, to make sure that we're addressing issues that need to be addressed, that we're hearing our 1,400 employees, to make sure that our strategic plan that we're about halfway through is being executed well, see how we can help individuals with that. So yes, lots of travel.
Lots of travel. Do you love travel, or have you kind of gotten over it?
I do love travel. I will say this. I love being in the offices. Right. Travel, especially this summer, been a little challenged with weather and all the things. But once I'm there, and, want to be fully engaged. But sometimes the getting there is not great.
Yeah. Sometimes travel, you have some hiccups here and there.
Yes.
Especially as of late with all these crazy storms we've had.
It's been nuts, yeah.
Tell me about, like, when you're in the office, like, are you practicing at all anymore?
I do not practice at all anymore. I mean, occasionally, so I'm a labor and employment lawyer by history. That's the area that I practiced in. So occasionally I will have a client that needs something, that asks a question, but more or less, I do not. My sole job at this point is the management function of the firm.
Part of it. Now, how did you decide you wanted to be an attorney?
Interesting, when you're a kid in school and you do pretty well in school, people start talking about, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? I originally thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I realized I don't like blood or germs.
There you go.
And so that pretty much means
ruled it out. Yeah.
Shouldn't be a doctor.
I didn't like chemistry. That's what got it out of me.
I don't like any. I'm not a science person. I really love words. I love the power of words. I love the spoken word as well as the printed word, and so it started to make more sense for me. I went to business school at UT, so ultimately that's a part of my story because I've been able to put the legal and business side together. But in high school, I started working for a firm, just kind of dip my toe in and see if I thought I liked what they were doing. I found it extremely interesting. Worked for that firm all through the finishing high school, all through college, part of the way through law school, worked several capacities, including as a paralegal for them, and just really got interested in continuing on to be a lawyer.
Now, did you practice right? I mean, like, what was your focus when you got out of college?
You
took your role here in beautiful East Tennessee.
Yes. So when I got out of law school, it was 1996, and labor and employment law was just beginning to be something big. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 had been around since 1964, but a lot of things had not been happening in that area. So about the time I was getting out of school, the Family Medical Leave Act had been passed, the Americans with Disabilities Act had been passed, all kinds of activity going on. And so there was a lot to do in the labor and employment space. So I pretty much moved right into that after law school pretty quickly. And there weren't a lot of folks practicing in that area here. And I, along with one of my partners and others, really sort of devoted ourselves to learning that area and being that for people in this area. Because
all the organizations around had to implement those things into their business.
Exactly.
And then probably had to defend some disputes when they weren't honored, right?
Yes. I mean, and I always thought the really neat thing about the labor and employment area was you kind of got to do both. You got to do litigation when the litigation comes, but your main goal is preventative. My main goal was to make sure that clients didn't get sued.
Right.
And that we were putting in place all the things that we needed to on a preventative level.
I love it. So out of all of the things that you do, which is a ton of stuff, what's your favorite thing to do in your role?
I think, I'll say kind of two things, but one, we have an amazing team of like our C-suite executive team is amazing. And like, so it is incredibly fun to work with them. And so I feel very blessed in that. I would also say though, I love solving problems like and issues and just helping people come together to solve problems. So really when I look at my job, and this is going to sound terrible, but it is a compilation of solving issues and problems. And so luckily I like doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I like finding middle ground. I like, you know, convincing, you know, maybe a group of people to do something perhaps they didn't really want to do in the beginning. I like finding database solutions. I mean, I like solution finding.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's fun to negotiate. It sounds like I hear that in the back of that, and finding, like a win-win.
Win-win, absolutely.
And introducing new ideas sometimes that may not have been presented ahead of time. So yeah, I think it's cool. What's the most challenging part of your role?
I would say right now, it is the fact that we have about 5 generations of humans in the workforce. And they
all work a little
bit differently and all find each other to be both interesting and infuriating. And so I think that is challenging. And the further I get down the path of being toward one of the older generation, the more I find the solving the problems related to the younger generation to be challenging.
Yeah, I think everybody's probably dealing with that a little bit, and then there's a lot of fear too, like, oh, AI is going to take my job. What am I supposed to do? We've got kids one just graduated, and one's in college, and so we're kind of like, hey, you know, you need to be thinking ahead, and how do you try and wrap your mind around what's going to be 5 years out, you know, 4 years out, 3 years out? What are you going to be doing? And you know, I think it adds a lot of stress to that early, you know, younger generation that we may not be able to help them with because we're from a different generation. And yeah, it's interesting, but.
Yeah, and our industry is going to be fundamentally altered and affected by AI.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because it sorts and researches all the cases in 13 milliseconds and writes a beautiful brief on whatever you put in there, right? And then you don't know if it's true though.
You don't know if it's real, right?
And then, so yeah, how do you juggle that?
Well, right now, I mean, you know, we're sort of certainly in the cautious exploratory phases of all of that. And we're trying to make sure that, you know, all of our folks are beginning to experience AI and beginning to test it. Typically, you know, we have clients right now who sort of forbid use of it, and we have clients who are encouraging use of it. And so we sort of use those ones where it's encouraged to sort of be test tubes for people to learn, and honor those ones where certainly it's forbidden. But we're trying to make sure that people of all generations are beginning to dip their toe into it, learn to use it. We're already seeing emerge power users, people who really kind of have it figured out. They have, they want to build the test cases for us to use into the future. So we have a lot of that, you know, that is happening. You know, one of the sayings that has been going around in our industry for a while is that AI is not going to replace legal professionals,
right,
but it is going to replace legal professionals who don't know how to use AI. And so that's kind of what we've been sort of saying, don't be the one who gets completely left behind. Make sure you are exposing yourself to this. Make sure you're having conversations with your clients.
Yeah.
But it is those very young attorneys where we are beginning to, we are somewhat concerned about how all that plays out, because if AI takes over those bottom level tasks, then how do they learn the higher level tasks? Because most of the learning is built on
it's like a launching pad kind of.
Right.
And so you don't know how to, if you haven't researched all the stuff and put the briefs, or
Yes. If you haven't done the basic work, then the building blocks begin to it's unsteady.
I watched LA Law back in the day. I know what I'm talking about. LA Law. Well, speaking of generational things, I mean, historically, the older generation of attorneys were all men for the most part, right? And you've broken through that barrier because you've been an attorney for a long time, and now you are at the top of a big firm. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Like, tell me about some of that and how you got to where you are. And was that a struggle with some of the old guard?
Well, so, I mean, lots of amazing women went before me and sort of paved a path that was at least partially paved by the time I came out of law school. I mean, there were still certainly challenges. I've walked into many rooms and people mistaked me for the court reporter or someone's secretary or called me honey or baby or sweetie. You know, I always sort of, I come from a very long line of strong women, strong little women, like small in stature women who, you know, my mom always said there's always a differentiator. Like, you know, you just have to find your edge and work it.
Right.
You know, there's always going to be that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was the hard work edge.
Yeah.
You know, I never got upset at somebody who called me honey or sweetie. I
I
simply,
chuckled, but you said it with a smile because
Yeah.
you're like, you just let it wash off.
I just simply doubled down on, I'm going to work hard enough that by the end of this, you're not going to see me that way anymore. Right. And so that's what I did. And it has worked. I have always felt like I've been treated at my firm incredibly fairly when it came to respect for hard work, respect for all the things that I was trying to accomplish. All the people that I had as mentors. I had many wonderful male mentors who like believed in me. So, you know, while there were frustrations, I would say I never saw it as a huge problem.
What, let's say somebody listening to this is thinking about following in your footsteps, a young female wanting to get into the corporate world. Obviously hard work was one of your things. What would be some other advice for those young ladies?
So I use these 4 words that I think are super important. And people ask me this, women in our firm will ask me this all the time. Starts with the hard work part. I truly believe that. It is a differentiator. So, you know, if that needs to be sort of your number one task. But I would also say authenticity. Never forsake who you really are. You know, faith is a huge part of my life. I've never given that up. It's always been a part of my business life. You know, there are other pieces of me that everyone in the firm knows. They know me personally, and that way I don't have to expend a lot of energy making sure they don't.
Right.
They get me. So resilience, big. And I always tell young people, if you don't think you're resilient, work on building that. Because things are going to not always go your way. Especially when you're a lawyer, you're going to lose some, and you know things are going to happen that you don't want to have happen. And then my last one, and I talk about this all the time at the firm, is grace. And it's huge. Grace for yourself,
right,
and grace for other people. For me, that's really been it. I mean, it's not harder than any of those things.
Is that like? I mean, I know you as a believer, and I am too, and faith is a huge part of our lives, but is that counterintuitive in the world that you work in, right? Grace. I mean, like, that's why firms are around for the most part, because there's not grace sometimes, right? And so how do you play that out?
Well, I mean, obviously the whole legal system is built around being able to take action when somebody makes a mistake, right? And so I don't necessarily think that is the absence of grace. I mean, I will always say, to me, that, you know, even when you give someone grace, it doesn't mean that things don't have consequences.
Sure.
And so, I mean, it is somewhat reconcilable to me. I will say, you know, on a personal level, you know, I think it plays out every day when, you know, maybe people don't bring their best selves to work that day, or, you know, maybe they've got something going on in their lives that is an explanation for, you know, poor behavior. You know, I'm always willing to give somebody a chance, as long as they are also willing to take their responsibility inside of it. I don't think it works in the business context if you just simply give grace and the other person never takes responsibility, never pivots from behavior. But our firm, I mean, culturally, we are different in a lot of ways. We are culture is extremely important to us.
Sure.
And so I think at most all the levels of leadership of our firm, you will find people who have commonality there. And so that's part of why I'm there 30 years now, is because I've found people who acted that out every day in ways that I respected.
Yeah, yeah. Who are some of the people that have poured into you, mentored you helped you get where you are, besides obviously the Jeff Keller?
The Jeff Keller. Well, I would say, gosh, so it starts with my 5th grade teacher, Miss Turner.
Aww.
I was not a good student when I started out in school as a very young student. And Miss Turner decided that I was smart and really, really spoke into me about being smart. And I never looked back from that.
How cool is that?
I wrote her a letter when I graduated from high school. I wrote her a letter when I graduated from college. I wrote her a letter when I graduated from law school. That was the fundamental turning point. And
how much energy did that take for her? You wonder, like, what if all teachers just grabbed little 4th grade, 5th grade kids by the cheeks and just said, "You were brilliant, you were smart,"
Yes.
And like, you can do, as opposed to they don't, or not taking that opportunity.
And she was
That's really cool.
She was a tough lady too.
Yeah.
Like, she was not just all, all butterflies. But
they used to we used to get spanked, so it was a different deal back then.
But so there was her. I would say my mother. My mom was one of those women who in the 1970s and 80s went to work in a suit. She put her hose on and her heels, and there's not a thing you could tell her that she couldn't do. And so she was a huge mentor to me. Jeff, you mentioned him. I mean, he's been a part of my life since I was a sophomore in high school. And I never doubted that I could do things because of, his faith in me. To this day, sometimes he is the only one that can convince me that I can do something that I don't think I can do. And then, I've had a ton of mentors at the firm over the years, who have, from practice group leaders, department heads, our prior COO, all people who just poured into me, belief in what I was doing, but also never hesitated to share what they knew. So I hope that I can do that for people now.
Yeah, which is probably a lot of fun to pass it on. And I think that's what we're kind of on the planet for, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, and then to integrate your faith and share that as well is probably a huge blessing.
Absolutely.
In the workplace. And so, so a lot of our listeners on the podcast are real estate people, small business people who are thinking about coming to Johnson City. What are maybe like your perspective on the business landscape of Johnson City? Is there anything that you would think, this would be a good opportunity for someone to bring to our market? Or what do you see as some of the future of Johnson City and some opportunities there?
Well, so one of the things that, I've been really excited about as far as our firm goes, we are a very, very large firm to have an office in a city the size of Johnson City. And, one of the things I always tell people is we can do anything from here and you can bring anything here. We have a lifestyle, a quality of life that is unmatched. And so really now, especially since COVID and sort of the geographical boundaries are just gone in terms of where you have to do things.
Oh, I know.
I think you could bring anything here. Yeah. There are smart people here. There are hard workers here. There are people who are passionate about being here. And that's part of stability of a business is like, you don't want people who want to always go somewhere else. Our people passionate about being here. So like, I don't think there are any limits on what people can do and bring here. And so I hope that that's what, now that we've been named on so many lists and there's so many people focused in on us, that is the upside of it to me, is that all these things that we never anticipated having here, the boundaries are gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy, and it's going to be interesting to see our area continue to grow. Like, we're growing leaps and bounds now because everybody thank you, Southern Living. Thank you.
Travel and Leisure, yes.
USA
all the
Today.
people, yes.
Back in, during the COVID, I mean, we were like on Fox News almost every day, it felt like. And so, and we love all the new people coming, and we're looking forward to embracing them, teaching them how to be great Southerners and respectful and loving, and hopefully teach them about Jesus. So I'm excited to see what happens. Would you have any advice for anyone thinking about moving to Johnson City besides to find a good real estate agent?
Well, certainly find a good real estate agent. Yes, and no, I would say
I think there's only one of those right now.
Work to connect.
Yeah.
I mean, and I will say, I think that's not always super intuitive, especially in a smaller area. People think, it's a small area. Everyone already has their groups, but we have so many interesting ways to plug in here, that be it churches, be it business organizations, be it things through the Chamber of Visit Johnson City. I mean, just so many different ways to plug in that I just encourage people to do that. I think particularly if you're someone who's moved here and maybe you're working remotely, there's a tendency to sort of hole up in your home and
isolated,
not experience all the things. But as I said at the very beginning, what makes us the best is our people.
Right.
So figuring out your way to plug into that, I think is just essential.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of different organizations, you serve on some boards locally, right? And so tell us about some of the things you're involved in outside of Baker Donelson.
Oh, wow. So over the years, it's been a lot of different, it's been a lot of different things over the years.
Yeah, and it's a joy to watch you in our community. Like, you're great. So that's why I was going down that road.
I always feel like I do have to really be passionate about something at this point in my life, because I do have to really intentionally balance. Balance is a bad word. There is no balance. I do have to intentionally prioritize things.
Yeah. And
so for me, I do generally prioritize, faith-based organizations in terms of my involvement from a public service standpoint. Right now, I'm on the Coalition for Kids board. I do a lot of things at our church, Central Baptist. Have been involved at various times with a number of other sort of faith-based charities. Jeff is very involved at the Salvation Army, so I do a good bit in support of that as well. I'm on the Eastman Credit Union board, which is sort of a business-based board of directors. But for me right now, I really do feel like I need to be passionate about something to do it justice. They also have to be flexible with me because I'm not always the most present. Physically.
Right.
I'm all the time on the Teams calls or the Zoom.
The emails come in, but you may not be present.
Yes. I've been very involved in the Chamber over the years, really proud of the work that the Chamber
our Chamber is great, isn't it?
And is doing.
Yeah.
That's been a passion project for me, only because, as I mentioned, I really don't believe there are any limitations in terms of what we can do here business-wise.
Right.
What we can bring here, what kind of business we can make work here. Sky's the limit.
What's some things that your firm likes to handle, or what would be some good clients? I mean, it sounds like you can handle pretty much anything, but do you guys specialize in anything?
So we do pretty much anything that business would need. We, from from startup, all the way through every phase of their business life. We have our firm has 4 primary departments that we organize ourselves around. One of those is advocacy, which means all things litigation related. So pretty much we have one of the largest litigation departments in the Southeast, and so pretty much handle any kind of litigation. We have a corporate business department that does all things corporate business, including tax, intellectual property, real estate, and then just corporate mergers and acquisitions kinds of work. And then we have 2 specialty groups or departments. One of those is healthcare. So we do a lot of work in the healthcare sector, both for-profit and not-for-profit healthcare sector. And then our other specialty department is financial services. So we do a lot of work with banks and other financial institutions, pretty much any kind of need that they would have. I think here, we're pretty different than most other law firms in our area in that, we really do bring to bear the expertise of 700 people to sort of fit best whatever it is that the client's need is.
Right.
That might be right here in one of our practitioners here, or it might be someone, in
another city,
Nashville or Knoxville.
But you've got a specialist for pretty much everything.
Even the most obscure thing you could probably
You've got somebody who's like highly talented at it to take care of your clients, which is super cool.
It is cool. Nowadays is sort of the specialties are what lawyers generally like to do. And it's even the lawyers who do a good bit of general work will always have some kind of uber specialty. When I was doing L&E, labor and employment work, my uber specialty was drug testing. I had a super specialty in that. And so if anybody needed it across our entire footprint, I would be their drug testing expert. I'm not up on that as much anymore, but it's just an example of how even within a more general practice, a lot of our people will specialize in something.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, all the different facets of the law, and it's very, broad and very encompassing, and so it's really kind of cool. So you kind of think there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think it's fun. Where do you see the future of Baker Donelson headed? Like, you got 700 attorneys now, 1,400 employees total?
About 1,400.
That's amazing. So what's the strategic plan look like 5 years out from now?
So we're in the middle of a strategic plan that goes that goes to 2028, and we are very much in a growth mode. I mean, if you've seen the legal industry in general, there's a lot of consolidation occurring. A lot of that is because it's expensive to be firms nowadays with privacy and security, with technology. We talked about AI, the investments that need to be made in those areas. So thinking about the sort of scale that you need to be in order to do those things well for your clients, is something that's really been on our minds. We have been working to make sure that all of our lawyers are really focused in on being trusted advisors within the industry sectors that they serve. And so some of that means that we need to grow and we need to grow expertise. And so as part of that strategic plan, we just opened a couple new offices in New Jersey with some specialty healthcare practitioners that really serve a need that a lot of our clients had. Clients not just in New Jersey, but all over our footprint. And so I think the future is more of that. It's, listening to what our clients need and specifically being there to meet that need. It's not really we want to be 1,400 lawyers, or we want to be in these states, but more to organically meet that need. And so it may be 25 lawyers in New Jersey right now, and then, 20 lawyers in another place, in another practice area next. I would say, we have grown recently into the Carolinas, and we're very focused on additional growth there. Yeah. So that's exciting.
It's probably a balance too, when you're balancing culture and scale, right? I mean, they're kind of like, it's hard. Carly and I want to add to our team, and we're always looking for great people, and but you don't want to kill the culture too. So you got to be careful.
Yes, and we have firms. There are a lot of firms that talk to each other all the time about, potentially merging or doing deals. And if we ever talk to anyone about doing those things, the main focus of those conversations is culture. Because you can look at somebody's, metrics and tell, are you metrically aligned?
Right.
But the big focus of a lot of those conversations is around culture. We could get twice our size but blow up our culture, and that would be a fail.
Yeah. What's it look like to disseminate cultural, information to 700 attorneys and 1,400 people and try and keep everybody on the same path forward because you're the leader, right? And you and the CEO, it's you two. And so the pressure of that is big, but two, how does that sit with you, and how do you do it on a regular? Because I think it's pretty impressive.
Well, I would say you're never going to get everybody on the same page.
And it's probably good to have some.
Yeah, good to have people who are challenging you and all of that. I would say that you always, hope you have the majority of folks rowing in the same direction. And those who aren't necessarily rowing in the same direction, you hope that they're not rowing against you.
Right.
But I think part of what I mentioned earlier about the tour that we're on really kind of gets to the heart of that. I mean, I don't think you can really move culture and be culture on a Zoom meeting all the time. And so we are going to these offices, and literally everyone wears the same t-shirt the day that we're there. And it's a kind of a corny little t-shirt, but it's awesome.
What does the corny t-shirt say?
So it's like, it's our summer road trip. We call it a summer road trip. And so it's got like a big road trip logo. And then on the back, it's all the offices that we're visiting and the dates we're visiting them. And the purpose of the shirt is so that we can all look around on that day and see that we're on the same team.
Yeah.
And then we go over the same general information in each office. And then we spend the spare time while we're there walking the halls and talking to everyone individually and giving them an opportunity to tell us, what we need to hear. And I just think, we also ask our other leaders to do that at all levels of the firm, get out there in the offices. And I honestly think that is the only way. And can you get so big that it's hard to do that? Absolutely. And I think that's when your leader team needs to expand. And, but I think it's just ground level work.
Right. Eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly. You got to look at people and encourage them. And, and it's not about you all the time. It's about them, right? They're at work for their family. They're at work to reach their goals and dreams. And hopefully it all, like you said, it all aligns.
Right. And sometimes you find out things that maybe there's a misunderstanding you didn't know, or, maybe there's information you can supply to them that just changes how they look at everything.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't been there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's go to the rapid fire questions. You ready? Best advice you've ever been given in life or law?
Listen more, talk less.
Ooh, I like that one. If you weren't a lawyer, what would you be doing?
Work at Disney.
Because you guys go there.
Love me some Disney.
Love you some Disney. For someone listening who feels stuck or unsure of what's next, especially a young woman, what's the one small step or mindset shift you'd encourage them to take?
Get a piece of paper, literally write down the things that make your heart happy, and figure out how to follow that lead.
Yeah. How many times have you beat Jeff Keller at pickleball?
That would probably be none.
Come on. What is your favorite furry woodland creature?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I like Highland cows. But that's not really a woodland creature, but I'm very much into Highland cows. Yes. And dogs. Dogs aren't a woodland creature either, but I am so dog.
Yeah.
Pro-dog.
We share a love for schnauzers.
We do.
Many schnauzers are so adorable.
We do.
Yeah, what's your favorite? If you couldn't have a mini schnauzer, what dog would you pick?
Well, so I have a Cavapoo right now also,
Mm-hmm.
and that is he is the best dog like ever. So I would have like 10 Cavapoos.
Gotcha. Okay. You and Jeff are going on a date. Where are you going in Johnson City?
Wow. Well,
Jeff needs to take you on more dates. It sounds like.
so no, we like a lot of different things. I was going to say, I do like to go like play pickleball or something like that. But as far as like restaurant goes, Katie Brown's.
Okay.
Not fancy,
no.
but I love it.
It is good.
Yeah.
Where do you like to get pizza?
Little Caesars.
Oh.
You may not want to put that one in there.
No,
Yeah.
but hey, Little Caesars is happy you said that.
I know. I'm very.
Are you still
very throwback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still get crazy, Brett?
We do, and I long for the days when you could get 2 pizzas in one sleeve.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I'm a big throwback to the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. Are you a coffee shop person?
Oh yes.
What's your favorite coffee shop in? Let's do top 2 coffee shops, Johnson City.
I would say Open Doors and Fearless.
Ooh.
It's right next to my office.
Which Carly went there the other day. She said it was good.
Superb.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, and lovely spirit.
Okay. This is for a friend of mine. What's the best hot dog in town?
I don't eat hot dogs.
However, you're married to someone who is an aficionado. I would say
Yes.
probably like world renowned.
He would say the ones he makes in our house
That's
are
true.
the best.
Yeah.
Yes. I always kid with him, I do not eat tubular meat. So I don't like sausage.
No,
So he
I'm
and I
with you.
could not be
Okay.
further
But
apart on the food
I mean,
spectrum.
Pal's hot dogs, they're just so good.
Yeah, that's probably up there.
What's the record for Jeff's number of hot dogs consumed in a day?
Probably the most I've seen is about a dozen.
A dozen
In a
hot
day.
dogs in a day. That's pretty
Yeah.
strong. That's
Yeah.
pretty strong. I love it. Okay. What's something I didn't ask you that you wish I had asked that you want to
Wow.
share? Anything?
I can't think of anything. You've asked really great questions today. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I admire you from afar and luckily hear wonderful things through your husband all the time. And he is so proud of you. He thinks you've hung the moon and you do just wonderful things for our city. So thank you for all you do for Jeff.
Well, thank you.
Keeping him fed with hot dogs and out of trouble and allowing him to hang out with me some. So that's good. And thank you for what you do for our city and your community. And you're just a wonderful human being, and I'm glad we're friends.
Well, that's very kind. I am too, and I'll be fired up to watch this.
Yes,
So-
we're going to get fired up. It'll be Friday, so you'll be fired up, and I'm sure our listeners will be too. So whether it's law, leadership, or loving Johnson City, Jennifer Keller is just a great resource if you want to reach out to her. How can our listeners connect with you, by the way?
Well, certainly, my contact information is on bakerdonelson.com, and that has email and phone, and I just love to hear from anybody who
There
likes
you go. Are you on the Instagram? Do you do that kind of stuff?
I just
Sorta.
only barely.
Yeah. I'm like that too.
Yeah.
People are like, did you see that?
I'm a little bit of a watcher and not a participator.
Yeah.
I do LinkedIn, however, I am on LinkedIn.
There you go.
And love to connect that way.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. Thank you all for listening and tuning into the Johnson City Living Podcast. Till next time, I'm Colin Johnson. If you want to make a move to Johnson City, I'm the only agent in the tri-state area, so you got to call me. Have a great day.